Hello and welcome to the Experiencing Love podcast. I'm your host, Philip Jocks, and I'm so glad that you're here. Today has been a wonderful day so far, and honestly, not much has happened. Actually, when I think about it, the main thing that I've done today was actually nap. I started my day off going back to sleep and napping, and what I realized after waking up was just how much my body needed the rest that I was missing. I've been going pretty hard for the past few days. And one of the things that usually goes when I have to make a decision is sleep time. I think I make that decision easily because I usually try to block out about 8-9 hours of sleep in my calendar. So that makes it easy for me to say, oh yeah, I have plenty of sleep planned. I could be 30 minutes late, but then 30 minutes on 30 minutes on 30 minutes, it starts to add up to the point that last night, I think I only got 6 hours of sleep, which for me is very little. And so I just decided it's been a couple days of not getting fully the rest that I need, so I'm just going to go take a quick nap. And the important thing for me was I didn't really set an alarm. I just let my body tell me when I wanted to wake up. So anyways, I said all that just to say that I'm feeling much better. And I've already noticed a shift in the way that I think, especially about the opportunities that I have coming up. I say opportunities and not challenges, and it's for a very specific reason. Because just a few days ago, all I saw were challenges. All I saw were scary situations that I was getting worried about, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I just thought about all the things that I have stacked up on my plate, and I just remembered the word resourcefulness. I've talked about it many times, and I feel the need to keep talking about it as a reminder to myself that in order to be successful in anything, really, some of the best traits to have are resourcefulness and persistence. Pretty much not giving up until you find a way and constantly looking for another way, constantly looking for the way to do it. One of the specific challenges that have been on my shoulders lately that I now see as an opportunity is my financial situation, and that I'm reaching a point where money's running thin and I need to find a way to pay the bills. Over these past few days, I was sitting around and worrying about finding a job. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And how much I didn't want to find a job for the reason that I didn't want to get tied up again in this cycle of having a set schedule that I can't really change and pretty much being on someone else's clock. I was worrying about that for a while, and today, when tapping into who I truly was, when tapping into who I truly am, tapping into my archetypes and really living from a place of my authentic masculinity, I thought if I was living in my fullness, if I was truly exhibiting masculinity in this moment, what would I be like? What would I think? What would I do? And the word that came to mind was that word, resourcefulness. And I said, Philip, rather than complaining about your current situation and worrying that things aren't going to work out, why don't you get resourceful and make it work out? Find the way. Eventually, yes, your business is going to do great. That's eventually, but you need a solution for right now. And from this place of resourcefulness and from this new drive of I'm going to find the way, I started thinking about the whole idea of side hustles and what I can do. And I used to do stuff like door dashing and Instacarting, and so I wrote those down and I said, that's an option. I can do those things again, and when there's orders coming in, I do the orders, and I do it up until a point that it pays my bills, and then the rest of my time and energy goes into my business. So I said, awesome, that's one option. But I feel like that's not the only one. And I started listening to this audiobook a couple days ago named Start With Your People. And I've only just begun it, but the title sticks out to me, which says Start With Your People. And I started thinking about that, and I started saying, rather than going out there and trying to find people to help, i.e. market my business, why don't I start with my people, my family, my friends? What could I do for them to exchange my time and my energy and my skills for money? What can I do as a side hustle for the people in my life? And then the ideas started rolling in. In terms of the archetypes, my magician was on fire. And I thought of a lot of interesting ideas, but the more interesting part to me was that I started thinking in terms of skills that I can learn and where those jobs would be useful in my future. I almost disconnected myself from whatever the money was, because even though I need the money, I realized what's most important in life is investing in yourself and doing more work on yourself than on any job. So I started looking at all the side hustles like this, and I started saying, okay, which one of these things can teach me what? I came up with an idea of how I'd be able to learn baking and cooking techniques from a side hustle, or how I can learn to be a handyman, doing housework and construction and stuff like that. I even thought about babysitting and how learning childcare could benefit me when I become a father. When I looked at it from that lens, I noticed that these are not just side hustles. These are opportunities to learn. These are opportunities to grow. And I pretty much feel called to do it for that reason. Because maybe some of these skills won't directly impact my business, but it will directly impact my life. And it'll also build that muscle of resourcefulness, where I could prove to myself that something came up, a challenge came up, and I can flip it on its head and make it into an opportunity. Because I think about it like this: if I had any other job, yes, I would learn different skills in that job, potentially. But when else would I have the opportunity to build life skills like this? If I was at another job, I would never think of these things. I would never be doing some of these ideas, taking extra time to learn the skills. Pretty much, we always have more than two options, obviously, but there's always a choice about how we react to our situation. And how just a few days ago, I was choosing to worry and complain about my situation. And I chose differently today, and I chose to be resourceful and to find a way that works for me. Evidently, not everything works for me, and that's part of the journey, that's part of growing, is figuring out, okay, I don't exactly like that, but I love doing this. I could do without that task or that circumstance, but I love being with these people. Slowly you learn, and you find what works for you. So if I were to leave you with one thing that you can do today, based on this topic, I would challenge you to ask yourself a different question. Yesterday we talked about overcoming limiting beliefs, and doing so by just changing perspectives. One way to change a perspective is to ask a different question. Previously, I was asking the question, how do I make the rest of my money last? Then I switched the question to, how can I generate the money I need? As soon as I asked a different question, different answers started popping up in my life. Our brains are powerful things, and as soon as we train it in a direction, it can produce massive outcomes. We just need to point it in the right direction. And we do that with our questions. So maybe you can ask yourself, what question have you been habitually asking about your limiting beliefs? What have you been asking about? In what ways have you been asking questions that may have been holding you back? What is the pattern of questions you're asking about that area of your life? And for each question you may write down the shift, write down the change in perspective. Maybe it's the complete opposite, or maybe it's just a slight 2-degree change in how you ask the question. Maybe instead of making it a what question, you make it a why question. Maybe instead of making it a why question, you make it a how question. I truly believe in you, and I know that if you actually take part in this exercise, it can be the start to a small shift that leads to massive changes in your life. So I thank you for being here and listening. And like always, remember to always fill up with the love. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I love you.